I have absolutely no idea how to intro this other than it's long overdue.
Yes.
So folks, welcome to Council of Geeks. My partner Liz is joining me.
Hello everyone.
And when I did, God, I don't know how long ago now, when I did my ranking of my favorite Angel characters from Joss Whedon's show Angel, I said that I was putting off doing the Buffy character top 10 because I wanted to do something special. That special thing was to have Liz on with me.
I'm a special thing.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, oh, that's sweet.
I should take a second go at that. I won't, but I should. So she's actually come to this with her own little addition, which is that we have our top 10s written on index cards. Mm-hmm. Neither of us knows our top 10s or our rankings. Okay. So these will be both of our, we're going to go from 10 up to 1 and talk about these characters, and as we name them when they're on our list, we'll talk about what we like about them. There's a pretty good chance that we're definitely going to have some of the same characters on these lists, possibly in different rankings. So I'm going to try and hold off saying what we really like about them until they come up on our own list.
Oh, okay. I have like novels written about some of these characters on the backs of my
cards. Yes, I know. Like, so I don't want you to have to like reference. See, here's the difference. This is the back of my card. These are the backs of her cards, all right? And when I invited her to do this, the first thing she did was borrow about half of my Buffy DVD box set so that she could rewatch.
Only 2 seasons.
So she could rewatch and confirm rankings.
I only I didn't do the whole seasons. I only did key episodes and only on certain characters where I was unsure that that was their true ranking. And I confirmed for most of it. I wasn't sure for a couple of my top characters, so I had to figure out where they fell.
All right. So, lazy geek librarian. Can you spot the difference? I think you can. So, all right, we'll start with our number 10s. Oh, and you also had a prediction you wanted to make, didn't you?
Yes, my prediction is basically we will not have the same number 2, but we will have the same number 1. Okay. That's my prediction.
Well, we'll see if that
Other than that, I'm not going to predict further than that because that's a lot, even for me.
We're going to start with our number 10s.
Wait, no, we can't say, really? Okay.
Okay, so Anya.
Anya? Is she on your list?
She is not.
Oh, okay. So Anya, so I really like how blunt and literal she is, and I enjoy her banter with Xander. She's got an interesting background, and I wish they had kind of followed it up on they mentioned it and did a couple flashbacks to her Vengeance Demon days, but I would have liked to have seen more of that. She's fun. I like her quite a bit. Again, I'm like 10th.
I like Anya. She didn't quite make my list. I think part of my thing, I like her dynamic with a lot of the characters. I think part of the thing for me is she's one of those characters where it's very obvious that they hadn't planned on making her a major part of the cast, and they kind of reworked her as they went along.
Okay, fair enough.
There's a... I remember when she had her flashback to her pre Vengeance Demon days, and they basically tried to establish, no, she was always like this, even before she was a demon, which was a bit of an internal retcon over they had kind of justified her acting the way she was because she'd been a demon for so long, she forgot what it was like to be a person. And that's what I kind of mean. They kind of made up the rules and her characterization as they went along.
Okay, well, keep in mind, in terms of me really sitting down and watching all the episodes of Buffy, that was more than 10 years ago, so it's
fair.
It's been a while remembering all those bits and things like that. I will also say, I think she does the blunt and thing and kind of, being you know, telling other characters off better than Cordy does, because she never seems like a mean girl like Cordy does. Cordy is definitely the mean girl.
Cordelia is also not on my list.
Cordelia is not on my list. Sorry, Cordy. I like her okay. She works better on Angel.
She did work better on it. So my number 10 was Tara. And Tara's just sweet. Tara is just wonderful and sweet. And she doesn't get higher because, I mean, this is going to sound awful, but there isn't a ton of depth to her. She kind of is what she appears to be, but what she appears to be is very nice, and I like her there, and I like her presence, and I like seeing her kind of come out of her shell a little bit over time.
Well job. You will see her on my list. She's significantly higher.
Well, okay, good to know.
But I'm supposed to wait to talk to her about her.
You'll get to talk about her when you get to her.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get to number 9. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Hey, Tom!
Hey!
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, we get to both talk about Jonathan now.
Oh, look at that. Okay. So I love the episode Superstar, first of all. So much fun. He's just one of those great, like, background characters that you don't really notice until he's highlighted in certain episodes. And again, like, Superstar is just a lot of fun, because here you have this afterthought of a character that's being obsessed over and worshipped, and he just...
It was an impressive acting turn, because, I mean, like, it was very put on, it was very overdone, but that was an impressive amount of swagger for a guy who was just always kind of like... up to that point.
I kind of, is that Danny
Strong
is his name.
And
he's had like this great career after in terms of screenwriting.
Oh yeah, he has like, become quite a prolific screenwriter.
Yeah, I mean, he's you will not see any of the other trio on my list. Not a chance.
Ooh.
Definitely not Warren.
Well, see, Warren, I feel like, is a separate thing, because Warren you have to rank as a villain, and that sort of...
Well, I have some villainish characters.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if Warren were to ever show up on a list of mine, it would be as a villain, and that's kind of a different criteria.
He's not even a good villain, I'm sorry.
Andrew,
a little bit of hating on Warren here.
Andrew would not show up on any list I would ever.
Oh, you really hate Andrew? I contemplated him, but I'm like, he's kind of a little too annoying.
I might not hate him so much if they hadn't killed Jonathan in favor of keeping Andrew. I'm really bitter about that.
That is fair. That being said, that was my other note. I thought he made a really good vessel for the first, and was more effective.
He was one of the better ones
than a lot of them. The other one I really liked as a vessel for the first was like Cassie or whatever.
She was good too.
She was really poignant.
Maybe we should have mentioned spoilers, but we're ranking the characters from a show that is I don't even know how many years old now. So whatever.
I also think he's really kind of sweetly earnest, but obviously his character becomes very misguided at various points in the show. Teams up with the trio. But yeah, he's just great. He's great in Earshot, which I had to revisit because I hadn't seen it, I don't think, ever fully 10 years ago, and I knew there was like a school shooting in that and that he was involved. Lots of spoilers, by the way. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna hate him for this, but it was never that he was actually gonna shoot his classmates, so I was like, okay, can still like Jonathan can still be in the list. If he had been more of a prominent character, I wouldn't be surprised that I would have ranked him higher. He's always welcome.
He was a great... he was literally just a background extra, but he was great. They picked a great character to highlight more and to expand later on.
Yep. Yeah, he's probably the most minor of my characters on this list.
I feel like he's the Buffy equivalent to Gunther in Friends.
Yeah, kind of. Yep.
Okay, so number 8.
Yes.
Here we go.
I contemplated him, but he is not on my list.
Oz is not on my list.
Okay. You can go first.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, the mayor, I'm not sure he's necessarily my favorite villain, but I absolutely love him as a character. I love a guy who has this very, this very sort of kind of square, you know, just wants to do right by the community guy. But
he does it well.
What I love about that is it's not really a facade. He's actually like that at the same time he is plotting to basically kill everybody. Because generally, you know, you'd have that in a character and they would, you know, get away from the public eye and they turn it off and they go all, "Mwah," and he never does that. He's the same oh golly shucks gee guy when he's planning to massacre people as he is when he's glad handing his constituents. I love him, and I love his dynamic with Faith.
I was just gonna say that is one of my favorite things about him, because I do believe he genuinely cares about her.
Yeah,
absolutely. And she so desperately needs like a father figure or someone who actually like pays true attention to her.
I'm pulling you over. You're leaning that way.
Oh, okay,
I don't want to lose you from the shot.
Okay. So okay, do you want me to talk about Oz? Okay,
talk about Oz.
So I have the least amount of notes on him, which I think is
that is absolutely appropriate.
So he's in a band. I mean, he's just cool. He's just so low key and mellow and everything, which I like that they contrast that with having him be a werewolf. You know, like it's a kind of a nice contrast, you know, that like he's a crazed werewolf, you know, a couple nights a month.
Yeah,
so,
but other than that, he's like the chillest dude on the planet.
Chill. Yeah. Also, he has a crossbow in one episode. I hadn't put that on my notes, but I want to just point that out. That just makes him cooler, obviously.
Fan of the crossbow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I watched a little bit of The Walking Dead, and Daryl with his crossbow, favorite character. So you know crossbows are always cool.
I bailed on Walking Dead before he showed up, so...
He was in the first couple episodes.
No, he wasn't. He was not in season 1 at all.
Daryl?
No. Merle, his brother, was in season 1.
Really? I can't remember. Anyways. So yeah, he's just a cool dude. He's mellow. He also great taste in girlfriends.
He does have that. I think, excuse me. I think part of the thing with Oz is I feel like he never had a proper exit from the show.
Oh yeah,
he had 2 of them, and neither of them were very good.
I always wanted him to come back.
Yeah, so honestly, if it wasn't for that, he might have cracked my top 10. But I feel like he just kind of went out with such a whimper that it kind of dings the whole thing to a little bit, which honestly might also be part of the reason Anya's not on my list, because I don't like what happens to her in the series finale either. I don't know what it is with Joss Whedon and trying for the non-heroic deaths of characters. The only time it's worked was the Avengers when he killed Coulson. That was the only time it's worked, but he does it a lot, regardless.
Yeah, you should treat the significant others better.
Yeah.
Joss, seriously. Okay.
Let's move on. Number 7. Okay, here we go.
Oh, I have that one on my list. But
Clash of the Slayers.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have grown to like her more revisiting these episodes. She really annoyed me in my 20s because she was so self-righteous. Is she on your list?
She is.
Okay.
So she's higher.
Okay. And now that I'm older than her, I can kind of get behind her vulnerability and her quirkiness more. I have always, like, been protective of her, even when I didn't really like her. If there was a character that I didn't really know.
Fellow blonde, solidarity right there.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just and I get this way about certain characters. I'm like, I don't really like them, but if someone I don't know or really like is, you know, like going after them, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get them, you know? And so I feel that for her, and I think I always did sense that vulnerability about her. And she has just a fate and a job and a task that no one should have. No one wants this, and I think I feel the burden of that more. And I think I think honestly Sarah Michelle Gellar is really underrated as an actress. I mean, that's a series, and that's a big meaty role to carry for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I think she does it well, and there's so much to the character. And I really, like, when she smiles, like, it's just, she lights up, and she gets to do it not very often at all, and it's just
the show did right by ending on her starting to smile. That was actually the right moment to end that show.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and there is kind of like a lovable quirkiness to her, and some of her little quips are so cute, and I mean, she is a very attractive girl, but she's got her awkwardness, and I think she played that off well.
It's like she's naturally pretty, but she also doesn't have time to deal with the fact that she's pretty.
She's got a lot on her plate, and the fact that like I love that. I mean, it's so sad, but the episode where her mother dies, she just carries that so well. I think half of this is me really liking how Sarah Michelle Gellar plays her, which I never really think of her that much as an actress outside of Buffy, but like the more I think about it, I'm like, no, you did well. You did really solid in the show.
So Faith,
I'm gonna zip.
Would have landed higher if I had not made a conscious choice to divorce what happens to her in Angel from her placement on this list. Because I think in many ways her arc gets completed in another show.
That's true.
Especially from her revival in season 4. You could look at what happened to her in season 3 and consider that more or less complete. Mm-hmm. But her revival in season 4 works. It doesn't feel like we're rehashing old stuff. But then that goes off and that all gets dealt with in another show. So I don't get to and I love all that. I love her trying to save Angel and at the same time like really needing him to help her get through her own history and her own darkness. Mm-hmm. But I can't count any of that here. And that's the reason she's not higher. So in terms of her function in Buffy itself, she's primarily there as a villain. Her redemption story is almost entirely in another show.
What about her in season 7? What do you think of her?
She comes back in season 7, but again, her arc has been finished. She just kind of comes back and is one more piece of the puzzle. Okay. I can't... If you only watch Buffy and you never see her stuff in Angel, you will feel like, wow, I missed a lot of what happened to her between when she left in season 4 and when she came back in season 7.
That's true.
That said, I like Faith a lot. I like Eliza Dushku quite a bit. Yeah. I think she is really good at that sort of angry energy that Faith has behind almost everything she ever does. And I also love the few times that the shell cracks a little bit around characters like the mayor, or sometimes when she's alone, like coming off of taking over Buffy's body when she gets her own body back, she just bolts, and you really get the sense that she's really deeply ashamed, and she plays it all really well. But it's because that it seems unfair to call it a missing piece because it's not really, but it's not in the show we're talking about, so I'm not counting it. So we'll move along.
Okay. Yes, we will be revisiting Faith with me for in a while.
Okay.
She's pretty
And number 6. Oh, so you get to talk about Tara. I'll talk about Buffy real quick. Basically, pretty much everything you said. And I think in terms of her self-righteousness, I think it's actually the Conversations with Dead People episode sums her up the most succinctly, where that psychoanalyzing vampire says, oh, you have a superiority complex, but you have an inferiority complex about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically it. She literally knows she's better than everybody else, but she kind of hates that. Yeah. And she feels she's not worthy of that. So I'm like, yeah, that's her in a nutshell. And that's actually a lot of layers to play and to deal with. And especially as the character grows and develops over time, she gets a lot to do and she pulls it off well. But
yes. Oh, okay. So Tara, I really adore her. She's just such a sweetheart.
You would have crushed on her in college, wouldn't you?
Oh, given the other people I crushed on in college, yeah, maybe. I mean, she's definitely the sweetest character in this series and is up there with like Fred and Kaylee in terms of the Whedonverse in general.
Yeah.
He does sweet characters really well.
He does.
He really does. She really helped Willow realize who she was and blossom. And I know you say she doesn't have a lot of depth other than the sweetness, but I think she is very intuitive and really gets people emotionally because I recently watched the back-to-back season 4, like Who Are You and This Year's Girl, where Faith possesses her, and she's the first one that knows that something's off with Buffy without having ever met Buffy. She's just like, I don't think your friend is who she says she is, without knowing her. Like, how crazy is that? Like, that's pretty good. She knows, she figures out what Willow's doing to her and how she's messing with her mind. Like, she's very wise and intuitive, very quiet about it. And I kind of love how she develops her self-confidence. I really like her. She's just so sweet. And God, her death. It's heartbreaking. So, the more heartbreaking it is, the more you know you're connected to that character. Yeah. So, I really like her.
All right.
She's very close to number 5 too. Like I'm pretty much on the fence line about these two. Like I think she would have been higher, Tara, if she had been in it more and if we had seen more of that like wiseness and just a longer story arc.
Okay, fair enough. So we're at the halfway mark.
Okay.
So we're at number 5. This one is an interesting one for me. I'm gonna have to explain this a little bit how I did this. So ready?
Okay. Oh, yeah, he's not on my list.
Okay, either one?
Nope.
So this was the call that I made, was whether or not I was going to rank Angel and Angelus as one character or as two. I opted to rank them as one character because I do feel that certainly a lot of the strength of Angelus comes off of the severity of the heel turn versus Angel. I think if we didn't know Angel as well as we did, Angelus would not be as effective a villain as he is. And then later on, when we see him grappling with, the stuff that he's done, having seen Angelus, we have a lot better sense of what that actually looked like. Like, and exactly how much damage he did for how long he did it. So,
I'm thinking if I split them, I would probably maybe put Angelus as 10. Because I really do
but not
like
have
him.
Angel.
But not have Angel. I do like Angel, but he's just too mopey for me.
He is, and he's
too serious. And
he's also better on his own show.
He's so much better on his own show. So he would definitely make the top 10 on his own show. Again, he probably wouldn't be the top, but he would definitely go on there, and I love him as a puppet.
Well, well, yes, that is always classic. And here's the thing, I actually kind of agree with you because he's higher because I put them together. So having Angelus tied to Angel brought the whole thing up. Whereas if I ranked,
he's the best villain. In my opinion,
I believe he is too. If I ranked Angel by himself, he would his best shot would have been 10. But you really
like your Angelus, dang.
He's still a good character for his function within the show. But man, Angelus is fun.
Such a good villain. Nothing packs an emotional punch like Angelus. Like, he devastates not just Buffy, but like Giles,
it is
the whole
good stuff.
Scooby Gang.
And again, the reason I did tie them together is because I do think the reason he works as well as he does is coming off of what we already knew about Angel. So that's why I've got them together. So Giles.
So he's great. I love his dark edge. And I love his past as, like kind of a bad boy and everything. He puts up with so much, and you can tell he's just befuddled by them sometimes. Like, what? Why? Wait,
he just wants a cup of tea and to read a book.
Yeah. That being said, as a librarian, I'm like, he's a little mired in the stereotypes of of the stodgy librarian, so I don't love that. I haven't really found any depictions of librarians I like yet in media.
My headcanon for that is not that he's stodgy because he's a librarian. He's that stodgy by nature, and the Watchers set him up with his cover story as a librarian because he fit that.
Yeah, but I'm not. Am I stodgy?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying the Watchers can't think past stereotypes, and that's how they did their cover story. Because the Watchers are kind of dumb, collectively, as an organization.
I could listen to him sing all day.
Oh, God,
And speaking of, like, Tara, like, if they could just put out an album together, like, they are well, there's other good singers on the musical episode, but they're just in their own...
Their duet in the musical episode is one of the underappreciated gems of that show.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, they just have such gorgeous voices. And yes, that will put him high on my list. I will fully admit that. I like that he, as stodgy as he is and as confused as he is by the kids, that he's not afraid to break from the Watchers Council and from tradition.
Yeah.
Again, that edge. And...
You're wandering away.
Oh, sorry. He's got great morals, but he never comes off as self-righteous. Or even really that self-righteous at all, but certainly not as much as Buffy.
Well, Buffy is a I do it because it's right hero. Giles is the greater good.
Yeah, that's true.
Person. So they come at problems from a different headspace.
That's true.
So, okay. Now, before we get to this, I need to explain this. The number on the one I'm about to show is wrong because at the last minute I swapped my 3 and 4. So the one we're doing number 4. My card's going to say 3. It's because I swapped these two at the last minute.
Okay.
So, here we go. Hey!
Okay. Oh, God.
Spike thunders into this show with so much swagger.
Oh, he's so cool.
The
and
epitome
that duster jacket.
Oh, just the epitome of, yeah, I don't care. I'm just cool by default.
We're getting into my, like, oh, they're so hot. In the next one, I'm just like, oh, yeah, the hottest characters. So, I mean, he is the moody vampire as you want it. Like, forget Twilight. Like, he's so mistreated and so in love though, and so angsting after these women who just...
I love that he hates the fact that he falls in love.
Oh God, yes.
I love that he wakes up from that first dream. He's like, oh God, no. I love how much he hates himself for feeling feels.
Yeah, he really does. Here's why. Oh, and he's got the best insults. Like, he's great with other characters and everything. Here's why he's not number 2.
I have a hunch.
It's that attempted rape on Buffy.
Boom!
And that's why he's not higher for you either?
That's part of why. And part of it was also thinking, like, the one I have at number 4, I also want to put up a little bit. So it was a combination of both, but that was a factor. That was a factor in the last minute swap.
I cannot forgive him for that. I don't care if he didn't have a soul at that point. I don't care if he went to get a soul after. I'm still mad at him. I still cannot forgive him. He is the coolest. He's the epitome of swagger and everything, but
the show worked really hard to, I don't want to say justify that, because I don't think the show tried to do that.
It did a good job of it, though.
I think the show worked very hard to try and mitigate, to try and show that it recognized the damage of that moment and then mitigate it for the character. I'm not sure they did enough to pull it off.
Not for me.
But they tried. But
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, thank God that she stopped him, because then he would have, I don't know if he would have even been.
Yeah.
That, and I will say the show has dealt with other issues of consent, because if you look at the situation where Faith in Buffy's body sleeps with Riley, that is questionable as well. Though he clearly consents when because he
but who he consents to is not who he gets.
That being said, she freaks out too instantly and was like, "This is wrong" and everything, and like freaks out, and obviously what Willow does to Tara is questionable as well in terms of...
That's a little more than questionable.
Well, it's more than questionable. You're absolutely right.
We'll get there, I'm sure.
But it's not what... Those are things we're not used to seeing in everyday life. Swapped bodies those have being able to mess with people's minds to...
Those have a certain detachment because of the fantastical element, whereas... attempted rape is that's a real world problem. So that ends up doing more damage to the character than that other stuff does. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yes, so I think that's why I can't forget him. Okay. That was a serious end to a character we both enjoy.
I do. I like Spike a lot, but So my next one is gonna say 4. It's really my 3. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
should I go first? Because mine, he's on my list.
Okay, go ahead.
So a lot of what you said, she's so hot.
No,
it has like, the glossiest lips ever, and like looks so good and leather, and she just has like. But she just has such gleefulness about slaying. Like, she loves it. And it's such a great contrast to Buffy.
To Buffy, it's a burden. To Faith, it's a calling.
This is the best job ever.
Yeah.
You know? Like, she just has such great relish in that. Like, she loves sex. Like, doesn't have the hang-ups that Buffy has about it because of Angelus. Like, I just thoroughly enjoy her. She also has a great vulnerability to her, which you see even in season 3 with the mayor. You know, they never really do flashbacks for... Do we ever get a Faith flashback? No.
They never, not even once.
Which I think, actually, I like better. Because
I do too.
You get to guess about her past, and you know it's horrible, and you know no one's loved her, and she says a little bit about it, but you just can imagine it for yourself. I
don't think there's any details they could have given about her past that would do the job as effectively as the assumptions you already make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Her relationship, we talked about this with the mayor, is great.
Oh, God,
how she latches onto him as the one chance she has for a father figure. And let's be honest, she picked a really good villain for a father figure.
She did. Like he's up there. He is up there.
He's like second in my villain list to Angelus. And like, honestly, all bad girls should have as much fun as she does. Like, she has so much fun. She's really great at pointing out Buffy's self-righteousness. Almost like she and Spike are like great at it.
Yes.
Oh, that scene where she teases Spike as Buffy, but like it's still Faith. Faith's character in that body is really hot. And she does have a great redemption arc. You're right, it mainly occurs in Angelus, but you start to see the beginning of it before she goes to Los Angeles in season 4. This is the most recent stuff I watched today.
She would have... This would have been put off for 2 months, and she would have kept researching if I hadn't said, look, can we just shoot this thing already?
I would have watched all of the Faith-related episodes. Yes.
That's not a bad thing, to be clear. I'm just saying.
I mean, she's on your list, too.
She is.
She's also one of the few characters I enjoyed in the comics and really remember in the comics, which I'm going to count. I mean, she's got a really good story arc in general, and I know part of it, you're right, is on Angel, and that should count for something, but I'm still stand by this number 3.
Remember, your justifications do not have to be my justifications. If I don't want to factor that in, that's not me saying you aren't allowed to factor in it. If you want to have that count and not be like, no, must divorce that, you don't have to. These are my hang-ups.
She's the highest ranked fun character.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Xander I think, like many people like me and at my age, I just identify with Xander a lot.
Aww.
Especially those first couple seasons. You know, he has a vague idea of what cool is, and he knows he wants to be it, but he's just not. And he's just never gonna be. And I'm like, oh, that's really familiar. Yet at the same time, it doesn't become a cringy thing. It doesn't become a, oh, what a loser. It becomes a, no, this is a good guy. He just, you know, like most people in high school, is unhappy with what he is. Surprise, surprise. But I love that in many ways he is the emotional heart of that team, of that core team of Buffy, Willow, Xander, Giles. Mm-hmm. And I really do feel he is the emotional heart of that group. And it will always be one of my favorite things that he saves Willow at the end of season 6.
You're just, okay, I'm just gonna say right now, he's like my number 2, and you're just stealing all my notes.
I'll stop there. I'll stop there and let you pick up the rest when you get when we get to number 2 then. Well, actually, so that's what we're at. So let's just go then number 2, and you can pick up.
Yes.
So
everything you've said about him, I would want him as a best friend. He is the emotional core. It makes sense that that's what he is for when they build the beast that goes, or the whatever against Adam. Like, he is the emotional core of the show. My gosh, like nobody else could bring Willow back from the brink. It had to be him. He was the only one. Like, and I recently rewatched the Zeppo episode, and I just love how, like, I don't honestly care what's going on with them and then fighting the, like, monster of the week story.
They're saving the world again. What else is new?
But it's just that he is, you know, he's like, oh, I'm gonna pick up a girl. I'm fighting this bully. I'm saving the school from a bombing by tricking this bully into disarming it himself. I'm losing my virginity. I'm gonna do all this, but not tell them. Not because I'm, like, mad or huffy or passive aggressive, but, like, just, they have a lot on their plate and they're saving the world. And that is Xander. Like,
yeah, you know what? I can deal with my stuff. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
He's just so unassuming. He's sweet. He's just so good-natured. He's just, and he is really, like, gets people emotionally for the fact that, like, you know, he's supposedly kind of doofusy and, like, he does get people. Like,
I think the one thing that might count against him for me is I don't feel they properly justified his leaving Anya at the altar. I think they made...
I don't remember that enough. So.
I think they made the decision that that's what they wanted to have happen, but they didn't properly justify it in the character.
I think he's one of those characters where, and I have dated these people, where they are much better friends than they are boyfriends, and I think that's probably true of Xander.
Yeah. I'll give you that. So you didn't even look at what my number 2 was.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, we don't. We have different ones. Okay, I know who your number 1 is. Okay.
But yeah,
we're just gonna flow into.
Yeah, this will flow into number 1s. So yeah, I mean, just go ahead because I know she's your number 1. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can just babble about. Well, okay.
We could babble about her.
First of all, she was my crush on that show.
Well, yeah. She's adorable.
She's so cute, and then she comes into her own, and she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Will you agree she has the best story arc in the whole series? You don't think so?
I'm thinking. I think as a character overall, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will.
Because that's what sells me for her, among a lot of other things. But like her story arc,
it's also one of the best because it's really. I complained about this when I did my comic book tropes that I hate. One of the things that I complained about was heroes becoming villains, and it's not that
she does it good.
It's not that I inherently have a problem with the idea. It's that it is so rarely properly justified. Mm-hmm. It just kind of happens. Here, not only is the event traumatic enough that you buy, at the very least, her going after these 3 guys relentlessly, but they had also laid enough groundwork in terms of what she had been dipping in that it makes sense that she goes as bad as she does. So that whole move, which is something that normally doesn't work for me, they did it right there.
Bored now might be one of my favorite lines in the whole series too. Bored now.
Yeah, I've heard you say that one.
I might have.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love me some Dark Willow.
Well, also, it didn't count towards my ranking, but also, can we mention Vampire Willow?
Oh God, yeah. Like, oh, she is so hot as Vampire Willow.
I love when Norma Willow gets in the chorus and she's like, oh, look at those.
Like, where did those come from?
Or when they all thought she was dead, she comes in and they all start hugging her. Hey, you just didn't all do a whole bunch of drugs, did you? It's like, oh,
she's the cutest.
She's adorable.
Oh, okay.
But then she does mature into, they don't try and they don't try and freeze her in carbonite as cute. They let her evolve and go beyond that.
Less fuzzy hats and less flowery sweaters.
Yeah. But it all makes sense. It makes sense that from there she goes to where she does and has everything happen to her as it does. I'll give you, yes, she has the best character arc.
Yeah.
But so my number one.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be your number one once I realized that Willow wasn't your number two.
Oh.
Wait, can I say more about Willow?
Go for it.
Okay, you got to hold on.
Go.
Okay, because I didn't get to say all I want to say about Willow. Like, she's just great. Oh, and the thing is, like, Allison Hannigan is so good. She's just, when she cries in the series, I cry so hard. Like, she breaks my heart like no one else. She's just good in all her different forms. Like, she's so convincing as a villain. Thank God she is a villain in season 6 because someone needed to take over from the trio being the villain. Thank you. And she also works off all the different characters really well. She works really well off Spike, obviously, off of Xander, off Oz, off, like, everyone. She's great with. She's a character where she messes up and it makes sense. Like, even when she is the quirky little girl, she does, like, kind of cheat. She does cheat on her boyfriend and kisses her best friend and, like, figures out her sexuality in college, has this amazing, sweet girlfriend, like, gets an addiction. Like, you just feel for her throughout. And I just love her. I really do. She's my favorite. Like, oh, she's great. Yeah.
So,
I'm kind of I can sympathize with her.
More than a little bit.
I'm a little bit Willow.
More than a little bit.
Yeah, I was definitely Willow in high school.
So, Giles.
Go for it. I'll let you take over. You get to have the last word.
I have an odd affinity for well-done exposition characters in the first place because exposition done badly is one of the most boring things in fiction. But if you can have a character, and more importantly in the case of film or television, an actor playing that character who you never get tired of hearing speak.
Oh God, yes.
That goes a long way.
The exposition, Giles.
That goes a long way to alleviating the potential issues with exposition. But so I liked him from the beginning. But then we get to season 2 and we get the first hint of his dark side when Ethan Rayne shows up and Giles just decks him. And it's like, whoa, okay, hold on a minute. And we get these little glimpses.
Oh, he's got a fun dark side.
Of this darkness and unlike, say, Angel and Angelus, or even Willow and where she goes, it's not something that she's like.
It's not the duality.
It's not the duality. It is something that you realize is always there. And what I love about him is that he is a pragmatic hero, which you don't get a lot of. Pragmatism is so often a trait given to villains, or at least very gray characters. He is undeniably a hero, but he is also pragmatic and I think the moment that sums that up best is the finale of season 5 when they're dealing with Glory And Buffy goes, to save Dawn and to,
Oh, Dawn.
and
I am not surprised.
who is
She
not
did not make her list.
neither list, but she goes to save Dawn, and this guy, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who like shared his body with Glory.
Ben?
Yeah, I think it was Ben. But, Giles goes down, and she wouldn't kill you because she's a hero. And then he puts his hand over his mouth and nose, and
he gets
like,
stuff done.
She wouldn't do this, but it has to happen, so I will do it. And he has what is undoubtedly my favorite all-time return of a character after an absence, which is in season 6, after he's been gone for a bit. Willow, after absorbing all this dark energy, says there's no force on earth that can stop me now. There's this blast of energy, knocks her to the back of the shop, and there's Giles in the doorway. I'd like to test that theory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Thank God he's
Yes!
back. I missed him so much. I was like, gosh, they're a hot mess. Like, Willow's gonna ruin the world. Buffy worked at a burger place. Like, I don't even... Oh, I imagine that's when, like... Xander left Anya at the altar. I
think it was
season. Like, they were a hot mess. They so needed that man to come back and stay. And like, yeah. I will always have an affinity for kind of the stealth badass. And I like him.
Yeah,
I like him in real life too.
I love. Oh, Anthony Stewart Head's great.
Oh, he's good. He's good. I fully respect your choice for...
And I respect yours as well.
Well, obviously, it's your number 2.
Thank you for joining me. So, yeah, this is it. You can, if you like hearing us together, we have a podcast called Tough Like a Girl, where we cover... female protagonists. I finished my drink over the course of this, so give me...
Oh, you had your drink with you.
I did.
And also, if there's at least half the members of the team are female, they're also on our podcast. So, we've done a couple team ones.
We have, but yeah, because we did Lumberjanes and... that was the main one. Yeah. But yeah, so we on the podcast, we talk about... graphic novels and trade collections with female protagonists, or at least teams that are 50% or more female. That's a monthly podcast. Check that out if you like. Also, there's a whole bunch of other links down there. You can check those out too if you want.
Hey.
One of them goes to the Patreon. But you know what? If you don't want to support me in that way, don't sweat it, because at the end of the day, folks, you are the council, and I just run the meetings, occasionally with help. And until next time, this council is adjourned. All right.
Bored now.
Oh!